Hey, Suits Crafting here. Welcome back on out to the workshop. Thank you so much for joining me out here today. Today we're going to be working on something awesome. I've got more of the Baron pen kits in. If you've seen my update video, which I'll link to here, you can see that we've got a lot of things going on out in the shop. One of those being those Baron kits. We've got a whole bunch of those because we're working on getting those up on the Etsy site. And I know that we're going to be selling some because customers have seen it, they're already interested in it, and they're buying. So today out here what we're going to be doing is one of those very pens that our customers have seen and they want. So what we've got is we've got a titanium gold Baron rollerball pen kit, but they don't want the rollerball. So we're going to be getting rid of that, and we're going to be putting in our G2 conversion. So we've got our G2 ink. And the super awesome part about this one is that they wanted something custom. They said, we want you to make something and we want you to make it exciting. What can you do? And I said, well, I've got this awesome Hawaiian Koa that they said they liked. Beautiful, awesome, curly Hawaiian Koa. And we cast up some Alumilite resin. So this is a hybrid blank. And on here, if you can see that, it's awfully dark, I know, my lighting is awful, but you can see that there are gold veins running through in that Alumilite. The person that this pen is for is a jeweler, and so having a gold pen kit, or a gold pen, with black and gold veins running through it is going to be something extra special for them that they're not going to be able to find just anywhere else. So it's really awesome. I'm really excited to do this one. It gave me a chance to test out doing hybrid blanks, which I've wanted to do for a while. Customer finally gave me the go ahead to do one. I'm so excited. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get this turned up. Okay, so first things first, we've got to decide exactly how we want our pen to present. Now, if you'll notice here, the casting wasn't perfect. There are a few bubbles here and there, but for the most part, it's pretty well clean. Now, the bubbles actually did something beneficial. Right through here, I can see exactly where the line is, where the wood and the blank meet. And the bubbles are not very deep, so I'm not too concerned with those, although I'd prefer a bubble-free casting. When we get down inside, we may find we have a couple of spots we need to fill, but that's absolutely doable, and it's just something that happens sometimes. I don't think I got my Koa all the way dried out, and so these things happen sometimes. But I can see clearly the way that the wood formed here, and if I grab another piece of my Koa, this is the shape that is on the front. So it actually has these curls because this was a live edge, and so it's got all of these ripples and curls and things that go directly through the blank, and that's all filled in with resin now. So it's going to be a really cool line going through the pen, but I don't want the cap to be completely black. I want it to have that curl line going around the middle of the cap. So to do that, we're going to look at that line that we have going through. I don't know if you can see that or not. There you go, now you can see it. See where it's glossy here, kind of a satin finish here? That line is where that wood is at. So I want that to bisect that right around the middle line. And I think that that's doable because that'll leave us plenty of room down here for the body of the pen as well. So we will take our Sharpie, we will mark that location, and we will get this cut. So we want that right there and right around there. So those two lines are all I'm going to need because our body is going to be going all the way toward the end almost. So we don't have to mark a second line for our body. So let's go ahead and get this cut. Take our Sharpie and we're just going to mark our concentricity line. We need to just flatten off our face because there's that little nub that's left over from the cutting process. We're going to take our number 2 centering bit and we are going to center our blank before we drill it. Now this is the body of our pen, so in order to drill this out we need to use a 25/64 drill bit. Pull off the ends there. This was a stabilized blank, so it is holding together really nicely. And we got really good ends on there, so let's do our top. First thing I've got to do is I got to face this off. Now for the pen cap, for this one it is a 15/32 drill bit. Okay, so we got our blank drilled out, and now we've got to do something different. So I got looking inside, and I can see that there are in fact voids in here. So we're going to be doing something a little bit different. Usually we would go directly into gluing it up, and instead what we're going to do is we're going to make some filler out of 5-minute epoxy. You may have seen my video already, and I'll put a link right here, where I actually tested to see if I could add gold pigment to 5-minute epoxy and then turn it on the lathe and see if it would take a polish, and it did. So I tested that for this pen so I could see if I could fill the gaps down inside of this blank with gold 5-minute epoxy, and then we can turn it and know that we are going to have no voids if we get too close down to the brass. Because I don't want to have pieces fly out and then brass be exposed and we have to backfill that. I'd rather fill it now and lessen the likelihood of it cracking or breaking apart. So let me show you how I'm going to do this. Okay, so here's how we're going to get this done. I've got some Solar Gold Pearl X powder. I've got some 5-minute epoxy. I'm going to put some 5-minute epoxy onto this lid that goes onto the condiment cups that I use when I mix up single blank castings. We've got popsicle sticks I'm going to stir the epoxy with. I've got this popsicle stick that I custom sanded the radius, a rounded edge, onto the end so that I can actually go inside of the tube and scrape and fill in those gaps inside my blank. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and get this going. We'll just let that sit. We'll re-drill out that hole later, and then we'll get our tubes glued in. Okay, so I've got the blank all glued up. We've got all that gold epoxy down in there. It looks good inside, but you know, there's big chunks of epoxy. There are valleys and mountains inside, and it's all hardened up. It's hardened up for a few days now. We've got our bit back in here. We're going to go through real slow. I've got the lathe turned down on 500, so it's going to take this nice and slow. We're going to go in and just clean all that extra epoxy out. Okay, so we got our pieces ready for glue up, so we're just going to check that our tubes fit through our blanks. And indeed that one does. Push it in from this end, and that does indeed go in. It is a tight fit, so we'll get a good glue up on that one. We need to first, though, these barrels are completely shiny. Aren't those beautiful? Look how shiny those things are. We gotta scuff those up, so let's get to scuffing. Piece of sandpaper. And when it comes to adhesives like this, and when you got metal parts, the rougher, the better. So those look even better now. So let's get these going. Alright, we'll hit this with some activator just to seal them in place. And we'll put in a little thin CA. Just dribble a little bit of this into any gaps that we see. Alright, we'll let that sit overnight and then we'll come back tomorrow and we will get these trued up. Alright, just going to put a sharpened edge on our roughing gouge. Let's see how well this roughing gouge will turn this Alumilite. Okay, so the gouge wasn't taking very much at a time, and it caught a couple of times down here, and I definitely don't want it to catch. I can see that I've got bubbles right where the Alumilite meets the wood, so I'm going to switch over to my scraper, which I think will be a little gentler on it, and we'll get this back going. Okay, I'm getting a much better cut out of the scraper. So I could tell the gouge, it was really struggling to get in there and cut. So we're going to continue with the scraper and go forward from there. This Curly Koa is super hard, and I stabilized it, so it's extremely dense. Really pretty though. It is gorgeous stuff. Alright, well, I'm down to the bushing on this side. Just got the tiniest lip that we'll take out in sanding, but you can see I've got a small void right there. So we will have to fill those in and decide how we're going to fill those in too. Let's get this side done and we'll see what we got to do. Turn the speed back up on this thing now that we're just working on wood. Alright, let's hit this with a touch of denatured alcohol, see what we get. Would you look at that? What we're going to do in order to fix this is we are going to dribble a little bit of medium CA down into these holes, into these pores, and then I'm going to scoop just a slight bit of solar gold Pearl-Ex powder directly into the glue with my popsicle stick. And then I'm going to take a skewer and I'm going to just mix it up inside the hole a little bit, make sure I get all the bubbles out, make sure that it gets in there right, and then we'll let that sit and dry naturally because I don't want to hit it with activator and have it turn white or discolor or bubble up or anything. Alright, we'll let that section set and then we'll rotate it and we'll do the next section. Alright, so we got all of the holes filled in with a little bit of CA glue and solar gold, and they're looking good. I did hit a few of them with a little bit of activator, but that was after I'd already put a layer in and it dried, and it kind of created a little bit of a crater. As CA glue dries or cures, it does kind of shrink a little bit. And so it did shrink, create a little bit of a crater, and I just filled that back in with medium CA, didn't add any gold to it, just left it clear, and then hit it with the activator in order just to seal the cap so I can move on to the next one. So we got all of them filled, and we're just going to get to turning this up. Looking good. It's all nice and even. All the little pieces are all nice and filled in. Looks good. We're going to get on to sanding. We're going to hit this with some 150 and we'll go on through our grits. Okay, we got it sanded up to 600 grit. Let's see what we're looking at here. Get it cleaned up with a little denatured alcohol. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Let's do the other side. And we haven't even hit it with the polishing pads yet. That's beautiful. That Curly Koa just shines and shimmers. It's gorgeous stuff. Okay, so we're going to do our CA finish on here. To do this, we need to first clean off our blanks with some denatured alcohol. Okay, we'll let that dry, and then we will put our CA finish on. Okay, so I've got a piece of cloth here, and then I've got some thin CA in this little bottle, and I've got a little baggie over my finger so that I don't super glue my finger or the cloth to my finger, which I've done in the past. And we're just going to drool some CA glue on here, and let's get this going. We got our speed turned down to 800, and we'll just get this started. Let that sit for a minute, and then we'll come back and put on another coat. So this had to happen in the last coat, second to last coat, because I'm going to put a layer of medium on. But there's a hair inside the CA glue. We're going to have to get at least down to that hair and buff that out with the micro mesh pad. So I'm going to put a coat of medium on here, and then we'll get it back onto the polish. Okay, so now we got this back on the lathe. We've got our bushings back on here. So now we are going to go through our polishing pads and get this polished up nice. One thing we do have to watch out for, at some point I got a hair in the CA glue. I don't know if you can see that right there. There is a hair in there. A hair in there. Couldn't believe it when I saw it, but now that I know it's there, I have to get rid of it. So that's one thing I do know that I have to do, is I have to get buffed down at least beyond that point. Now I am proud of the bushings, just slightly, so I do have a ways to go. So if we get down beyond that point and then I have to apply more CA, I will, but I have to get rid of that hair at least. As you can see, hair is gone. And that is starting to look really nice. So we're going to go back to our polishing pads and we will get this polished up. Would you look at that? Oh my gosh. Wow. That is gorgeous. This is an extraordinary pen. We're going to have to do another one of these in the future because I think I want one of these. Oh wow. That CA finish sure turned out nice. Look at that wood. That is beautiful. Alright, now because we put a CA finish on there, we are not going to have to hit this with any sort of sand sealer or anything else. All we're going to have to do is hit it with a little bit of Dr. Kirk's polish in order just to remove any micro scratches, any small bits and pieces of things that may have wound up in there that, you know, we can't see, but bring out a little bit of a dull shine, and it brings it all up even to a nice shine. So we're just going to touch it up with a little bit of this, and we're going to call this done. Alright, we'll buff that up. Wow. Just wow. I am in amazement of that. That Curly Koa really just shines in that light. You can see little gold veins and things going through the black, and then those little nuggets just look good. Wow. That is beautiful. I think I'm going to call it for tonight because that is beautiful. I'm going to step away from it. I am absolutely amazed at exactly how beautiful that piece of Curly Koa and that piece of Alumilite turned out. It is awesome. I could not be happier. I want to give a big shout out to RJB Woodturner for teaching me how to do a CA finish on pens, watching his videos. He's an awesome guy, Bob over there. Thank you so much for all the extensive videos that you've done on how to do CA wood finishes, because this thing turned out great and I learned it from you, buddy. Thank you so much. If you want to check him out, I'll see if I can't put a link to his channel over down here. And if anything else, please subscribe to the channel. Check out the next video on assembling this pen, and we're going to do a G2 conversion. So thank you so much for joining me out in the shop. Suits Crafting, signing out.